Your boy OMD Dex 300. Sorry for being a little late. We were having some technical difficulties and still kind of are, but we have the guest on the phone from New York City right now, live on the show. Welcome to the show, sir. Please tell them your name.
My name is Dave Solazzo.
Dave Solazzo from the Dave Solazzo and the Bridge Jazz Trio. This man is absolutely amazing. I've been listening to some of his music today, and it is an honor to have you on here. My apologies first and foremost for the technical difficulties. I don't know why I'm so scared of my computer.
Well, I personally, I take the blame for it, and I was on a laptop. But I mean, I know it sounds crazy. I actually don't have a smartphone, but it's deliberate. I just feel like we can get into all the reasons why I don't have one, but I'm still keeping this. I'm keeping the spirit of the early 2000s.
Well, heck, it sounds like you might have a rotary phone over there in New York.
If it doesn't work, we can always run like a line with two O's, like when we did when we were kids.
With the Dixie cups and the string. Yeah, I agree with you. That would be we wouldn't get nowhere, but that would be hilarious.
Yeah, I know. It kind of cool.
So let me ask you, Dave. I hope everybody out there. We got a couple people on the line right now. Hey, let us know if you can hear Dave through my mic, and let me know if you can hear what he's saying because we couldn't actually get the split screen going with him. Next time, I will be using my laptop for some of this stuff because that doesn't even make any sense. I got $1,000 laptop in there and I'm not using it for podcasting. It's absolutely ridiculous. So that's my bad, and I want to apologize to Dave because I know he's a busy guy. Amazing musician. Let me just start by saying that.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Man, I didn't know a piano could be played in such a fashion. Well, I mean,
I'm still working at it. You never really mastered it, but I have my good days. I have maybe my not so good days. But at this point, I feel pretty comfortable. But it's like I think any musician will tell you, you never get to that point where it's like, yeah, I've got. In practicing, it's sort of like brushing your teeth. Like as white as you can get them one day, like you have to do it the next. It's not like so. It's constant.
I get it.
Process.
I get it. It sounds like wake up and you probably crack your knuckles and go right to the ivories. But to be honest with you, after hearing some of what you guys do, sir, I gotta say you're a pretty amazing artist.
Thanks. I appreciate it. We're trying to evolve, and I can tell you a little bit about the backstory. So,
Go for it.
most of my life, when I teach at college, I just turned like 51 years old. It's crazy. I don't even. It's funny to even say that. But most of my life working as a musician, I spent as a sideman, accompanying other musicians. Lots of singers, actually, over the years, playing other people's jazz bands, playing with horn players, and I've always enjoyed that. And I have a bass player friend who I played in some of these groups with, and he actually has his own band too, as a side project.
Mm-hmm.
But we were out, it was last year, having some drinks after a gig, and I was kind of talking, like lamenting the fact that, like, wow, here I am at this age, I've been fortunate enough to been in some great I had some great musical experiences, been in great bands and stuff, but I've never really had my own official kind of a project, and I had some original compositions, and it's one thing to when you're a side musician with someone else's band. Again, that's very enjoyable, but you're sort of helping them implement their vision, and you're contributing. And but I had just thoughts about what I wanted my music to sound like and my vision for the music, and that kind of couldn't be done so much as a side band. So
Right.
my friend Matt suggested making an album together, and we did, and it's kind of evolving from there. So that's like a little bit of the backstory.
I got you. The thing I think should happen is you guys need to go on a tour. I would love for you to come to LA, and I know a small intimate theater in Studio City that will be perfect. It's 53 seats. I'm sure you'd love more as far as the
So
seating.
that's great. I mean, yeah, we were working on some stuff like that. It's tough. I mean, we've been traveling. We went to Cincinnati in October. We went to Massachusetts in October. We just got back from Naples, Florida. We played a club.
That sounded like that would have been a nice trip.
It was, I mean, the aspects of it that might be tough. Look, logistically, it was kind of tough. We flew down and we had like an Airbnb situation, like just kind of just make sure we didn't. It's tough with the traveling, just to not exceed your budget.
Sure.
Like I said, we had
and also actually
in the country,
and also actually make some money while you're down there, and not exceed everything that you said you were going to do to get rooms and all that, and make some money on the way back, for God's sakes.
And I enjoyed it. I mean, the club was wonderful. That part was great. Naples was nice. Florida's a little weird. They've got these bugs that are just like kind of insane.
I swear to God, the South is just infested with all kind of weird ass bugs.
The ones that I knew about, because I did some gigs in South Carolina, and they had these palmetto bugs. They're basically like flying roaches. Funny little story. I told the guys in the band, like I said, we're all staying together at this little Airbnb situation out in the country. It was a nice place. And I said, they have these palmetto bugs. They're like flying roaches, and those guys are laughing at me. Oh, yeah, right. They're like, oh, yeah. Like the drummer's like, oh, yeah, I heard they made in the spring or something. And I said, really? He's like, no, I'm just kidding. And so they thought I was crazy. So the second night in the place, we came in, and I noticed we walked in the door. I think this thing flew in, but we walked in the door. A few minutes later, my friend Matt, our bass player, I could see him sort of like scrambling around the television, or like it looked like he was chasing something. And I kind of joked, I said, is that a mosquito? And I realized it was one of these flying roaches.
Wow.
Crawling across the television screen. I swear to God, it was the size of my thumb.
Holy shit.
So, but at that point, it's not like, when you're in the Northeast, I'm in New York, like you think of roaches as being sort of specific to like this place has roaches. But in Florida, they're flying, like they're outside, they're flying around everywhere. So yeah, they call them palmetto bugs. I mean, not to go into such a long story about that. So when my friend, when Matt saw that, I felt like vindicated, but it was huge. Luckily, I mean, I was like running and screaming practically, but he was able to put like a cup over it and like throw it outside. I mean,
right.
If you're not used to it, it's like, wow, you see this flying like roach thing. It's like, holy cow.
Yeah. Hey, they're saying on the chat right now, flying roaches are real.
As crazy as it was to see that, I sort of felt vindicated because they thought I was crazy. I'm like, these palmetto bugs. And then we saw them the second night.
The misadventures of a jazz trio on their tours. That's crazy.
Yeah.
That you could actually do a whole pod about that. Let me ask you something.
The gig was wonderful. Naples is
beautiful.
I've never been there. I had been to Florida several times in the past. But Naples is kind of swanky, kind of upscale. It was nice, and yeah, it was great to walk around.
Can I ask you something?
This Italian place.
Can I ask you something, Dave?
Sure.
What motivated? Why jazz? Why jazz? Were you like bitten by the jazz bug watching like Miles Davis or Louis Bird or any of those guys?
Yeah, that's a good question. It's sometimes when I say this kind of jokingly, but there's truth and humor. I mean, I feel like because jazz isn't that popular. I mean, I love it. Economically, it's really tough. I feel like in some ways it kind of ruined my life. Like,
oh wow!
Way, when you fall in love with something that you're so passionate about something, but it's difficult to make a living at. So to answer your question, I got involved with jazz. My father's a musician. He's a bass player, jazz bass player. So I guess I was doomed right from the beginning.
I knew you.
My friend, he's also a musician. He comes from a musical family. He said, why couldn't our parents? And he became a drummer. He'd say, like, why couldn't our parents have been like surgeons? Like, why couldn't my father have been a surgeon?
A lawyer or something like that.
They were placements or something like that. I would make some nice, fancy place. But yeah, that's how I got into it. My father's a musician, so yeah, I started taking piano lessons as a kid, and then I just got into jazz because he was into jazz. He had records.
Did you go to a performing arts school? Like, because there's several of them in New York. Was that something that you did?
Well, I went to just a regular high school. I went to a community college after high school for music. Then I did a semester at Berkeley in Boston.
Oh wow!
That was cool. But I left after a semester. Then I'm actually in Central New York. So,
Okay.
I just hung around Central New York and I played. It was great. Actually, as a kid, it was great because even in high school, like I had friends who were one of my best friends. He was working in a sandwich shop and he would work like whatever it was, 20 hours a week or more. And I would be able to go out and play. I started doing gigs about 15 or 16. So I'd be able to go out and play on a Saturday and make the same or more he made all week working in a sandwich shop. So it kind of spoiled me. It kind of, I never had to have like a job until like later. I had some jobs and stuff. But it was great too. It was.
Well, you got to hone your craft because of it. So,
Yeah.
I mean, you're light as a feather on those keys, bro. Let me tell you. I'm super impressed. I would love, and like, I'm not gonna hold you a long time. I wanted to get at least a good 20, 25 minutes talking to you. And probably once we hang up, I'm gonna play some stuff from your new music that I just saw on Spotify, and I was just freaking blown away.
Oh, thanks. I appreciate it.
What do you think of these guys today, the contemporary artists, Dave Koz and what's the guy's name with the soprano sax? God, I can't think of it. With the hair, the curly hair.
Is it a newer musician?
Yeah, it's a few of them now. Idealistically, to me, you sound like a traditional jazz musician. When I hear your music, it takes me back. You know what I'm saying? It takes me back to the smoky cafes and back, jazz clubs, where people start snapping their fingers just like they were listening to poetry. And so, what do you think of these guys?
I love the it's funny. I love the traditional musicians. I love my hero was Oscar Peterson.
Wow.
And I love Herbie Hancock. I love
Yeah.
Players like that. I love Bill Evans. But I'm pretty open-minded, and I grew up in the '80s, and I remember Van Halen being on the radio.
Gotcha.
Like Genesis.
Oh, yeah.
Jackson, and I loved Madonna. I like that stuff too.
Yeah.
And then in the '90s, I loved. Actually, I discovered hip hop. I discovered like Tupac and Biggie, like sort of after. I mean, I knew they were. I was aware of them in the '90s, but I was so involved in jazz. It wasn't until really the early 2000s that I started checking that stuff out. And I love that too. So I mean, I really love everything. And as far as jazz, there's so much great contemporary jazz. Like I said, I love Miles Davis, and I love the traditional jazz musicians. You can even go back before that and talk about people like Fats Waller. And,
oh my God.
Traditional. I mean,
hell, Quincy Jones at one time.
The traditional musicians who preceded the bebop era.
Yeah.
But to answer your question, I think there's so much great stuff now. I mean, I love Robert Glasper. I love there's so many names in there, progressive jazz musicians who are really moving things forward in an exciting way.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's a great time. I feel like there's to talk about another thing. I feel like there's so much. It's the scene is really healthy, but there's so much music and there's so much saturation with the internet that it's hard. It's harder than ever to get noticed.
I think that's in all art forms now. I mean, there's a dime a dozen comedian now. There's a rapper around every friggin' corner. The thing that I've noticed that's lacking, as far as music is concerned, I feel for R&B, rhythm and blues, whether it be like the more hip hopier type R&B, hip hop type music to more traditional Whitney Houston, Mariah Carey singers. and crooners. That's fallen to the wayside to me. I mean, there's a few of them out there now, and there's a couple who won Grammys recently, but that music is so different from what we've known. I guess it has to evolve, but I don't know. I think jazz is something that I liked Hiroshima for a long time. That's the Asian group that came out of Dorsey High School here in Los Angeles. Great jazz group. Amazing. They had a few number one hits, actually. So, jazz to me is never going to be gone because all of this music is traditionally, all of this stuff, jazz is like hip hop. Hip hop comes from jazz. It really does. And rhythm and blues.
I love hip hop. I feel like, I love that stuff. I love, R&B and like Motown, like the stuff.
Oh my God, yes. Quincy Jones.
There's so much great stuff. So, unfortunately, I know, especially with a genre like jazz, there are people who are more who aren't open-minded. I know musicians like that who aren't open-minded and they don't like. Some of them don't like other styles, or they look down at the other styles. But I think I played in rock bands and jam bands and like all kinds of bands, and I love it. And I feel like every type of music has its own challenges.
Everything.
Jazz it's a very technical music. It's very technically involved, melodically and harmonically. It takes a lot of training, I guess, to be able to play. Look down.
Yes. You got the history of it. You got the history of it down pat. I know I can tell you're very well versed in that, and you know a lot of artists. So, do you think it's moving in the right direction, or do you think they're trying to kill off a genre?
You mean
jazz itself? Yes, sir.
I feel like that's interesting. I feel like it's so fragmented. I feel like it's going in a million different directions. Which,
wow.
I mean, in some ways might be healthy. I mean, you have your traditionalists who, people like Wynton Marsalis.
Yes.
Are sort of keeping, it's almost become like classical music, which is fine. I mean, there's certainly a place for that. So he's keeping the tradition alive and really kind of keeping, like the traditional stuff alive. Then you have people who are really pushing things forward, and you have, I guess, all these different scenes that are happening all at once. I guess there's some overlap too, but yes, it's. I feel like music is sort of fragmented, and I guess there's some good to that and some bad to that. But it's funny. I mean, you probably have this experience too. Even outside of jazz, you just ask people what they're listening to, and they'll sometimes give you artists and bands that you've never even heard of. Like even for jazz, like someone I'll say, well, talk to friends, what are you listening to, and they'll tell me about like some artist who's great, and then I'll check them out, and they'll be great, and someone I never even heard of. So it's interesting because I feel like for people who are my generation or before, we didn't have as many options, so we were all. It's like in the 80s, everyone knew who McDonald was.
Exactly.
Exactly. They had such a tremendous reach because there were a million.
But
so we're all on the same page. We're all now like.
I think because of social media, because to be honest with you, there were Madonna-like artists back then, but Madonna had the money behind her to keep her face in the public eye all the time.
Yeah.
There were other artists like Tawny and all these different chicks like that who were very similar to Madonna in doing pop music, but they didn't have the financial backing. Today, because of social media, small companies, small production companies, small promoting, advertising people can have your face everywhere. So it's so many people doing the same damn thing that it's oversaturated, just like you said.
Yeah, I do. I focus on that a lot. I think about that a lot, like that saturation aspect. And I did a little writing and just some prose writing, and I've written. It was the same situation with that too. It's like you're competing. You talk about people who are self-publishing. It's great you can self-publish a book.
Right.
These days, I guess maybe that was harder 30 years ago or something before the internet. But the downside to that is like everyone is doing it, so it's so hard. Even if you have a good book or product or something, I think it's like throwing a little pebble into the ocean or something. It's so hard.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it is.
So.
God rest his soul.
Yeah, right. Because it's easier with the internet. It's easier to get your music on YouTube or your podcast or something. But it's just there's so much out there.
God rest his soul. Nipsey Hussle said something so profound. A rapper out here from Los Angeles who tragically was killed on his property, by the way. But he had made a comment. Now I'll sum it up because I don't think I can quote it word for word. But he was saying that competition is detrimental, because he doesn't compete with other artists. What he tries to do is always make the next project he's doing, the next song he's doing, something that he loves, and then release it to the masses and let the chips fall where they may. And that, to me, that makes more sense than anything. Because if you're trying to impress somebody, or if Wiz Khalifa's album comes out, or another jazz artist in your case comes out, and you go, damn, that jazz guitarist is amazing. We got to do something to top that. I mean, you've already defeated yourself even in that thinking.
Yeah, no, I think that's absolutely true. And I think that's it's something. Just I've had this to change the subject slightly, but I think it's related. This idea of, like, I was talking about wanting to do my own music and go in a different direction from the sideman stuff. And I still enjoy the sideman stuff. I still think that's great. But I guess I was having some discussions with friends and just thinking about it. It has to do, I guess, with being like an artist. I mean, not to sound pretentious, but I guess you can be a musician who plays other people's music, and you can still be a great, competent musician. There's nothing wrong with that.
Right.
But I want to be more of an artist. I want to be someone who has like a vision. And I'm not saying it's better than anyone else's. I'm just saying it's
yours, man.
Something that I feel.
It's yours. That's what art is. It's something.
Being driven by what really excites you.
Yeah.
And not thinking about what the public is going to want. Like that's what we try to do with this latest record. I was just attracted to certain concepts that might not be as accessible. This idea of you're talking about traditional jazz where you can feel the beat, where everyone can kind of feel the beat, and it's like a kind of toe tapping kind of thing. We were playing some tunes that have more of an elastic, like the time feels more elastic. It's more slippery, so it's not the kind of thing that it's still. I think it still has an emotional impact, but it's not the kind of thing that would grab a hold of you maybe right away.
I beg to differ. It grabbed a hold of me. I was shocked. I was shocked, man. It was like, and look, I don't listen to jazz all the time. I mean, I wouldn't say I'm a connoisseur of the art form, but I know jazz. I've had family members who were into jazz, and as a kid, you've heard them play records and it resonates. So, it's sort of like when I was a kid and I didn't know Jesus. You know what I'm saying? Now I know him better than I ever did. But the fact of the matter is, when I heard your music, I knew it was something that you made. It was set apart from any other jazz artist. It was individually you guys's. And that's what I dug about it. And I was like, these motherfuckers are dope. I was like, you know what I'm saying? It's like when
it was just being true to like what resonates with you. Like there's a jazz musician that I love, his name's Kenny Werner. He's written some books and stuff. He would talk about, I think it's one of the big things as a musician, especially as a jazz musician, you wonder, like, what is my style? What can I be? You'll have people telling you, oh, you should check out this, you should get some more, for piano players, people would tell me you should listen to more McCoy Tyner, and I love McCoy Tyner, and then people will tell you you need some monk in your playing and stuff. And then if you go to jazz school, you're just kind of studying all these styles, and at a certain, which I think is good, but at a certain point you have to really focus on what, are you playing like Thelonious Monk because someone told you to?
Exactly.
That's really being true to yourself. So at some point, I think you just have to focus on the stuff that excites you. And like this musician Kenny Werner would say, that's to answer that question, like, what is your style? Your style is what you're attracted to. And he would say, you just kind of go after what lights you up, and then hopefully that will be, transmitted to an audience. If when an audience sees you perform and sees you really get involved in the music, and so I think that's what we were trying to do with this record. And it's a first attempt. I mean, I think for what it is, I think it's an okay record. We didn't have a lot of rehearsal time. It's kind of raw in some ways, but in some ways that could be an asset too.
I think it's amazing.
A long process. I got the ball rolling, and the next one will be even better.
Hey man, I am so proud to have had you on here today, man. This has been Dave Solazzo and The Bridge is an amazing jazz trio. You guys have to go check them out on Spotify or any other streaming service that has music. Sir, thank you. What part of New York are you hailing from out there?
I'm in Central New York. I move around Central New York, but I'm based in Syracuse.
Syracuse, the Orange Men are kicking ass. So is Dave and his band. Thank you so much for being here. We appreciate you. You're now a part of the Corner Store Podcast family and Corner Store Television. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. It's an honor for me. Thank you so much.
No problem, man. Have a great rest of your day. Dave Solazzo, folks. That was amazing. That was amazing. I hated to cut him out of here like that because I really wanted him to be on. Hold on one second, folks. I gotta do something. I really loved having him on here. Thanks for everybody who's on the live today. I really wanted you to get a chance to see Sir, because he's a real cool dude. His music is absolutely amazing. And we're gonna play a little bit of it. Hopefully you can hear it. I'm gonna close my big ass mouth and let you soak that in for a second. It's one of the first singles from their music. It's called Selena Street, and this is what Dave Solazzo. That's Dave Solazzo, DaveSolazzo. Dave Solazzo and The Bridge, and this is their single, Selena Street. Killing the kids. Hey, man, this dude is talented. Hopefully we can get them to Los Angeles and do a show in their studio city. And stay tuned. We're trying to get them out here. Yo, that was Dave Solazzo and the Bridge and the Dave Solazzo Jazz Trio. Thank you again, Dave, for being on the show via the telephone, which is the first, that's like a first, maybe the second time I've ever done that, and it went off without a hitch. My apologies. We're going to try using my computer, and we're going to try to rock with that. I'm going to do another show here in the next day or so, and I'm going to do computer because I got a lot of equipment coming, like I've mentioned before, and we're going to start doing this podcast really tight. But thank y'all for coming, whoever was on the live today. I think I saw Miss Ingersoll on there. Shout out to her. Light Slim, I wish you was here. That was a New York guy and everything. I appreciate y'all. It's your boy, OMD Dex 300. And on the way out, I'll play Gentle Rain by Dave Solazzo and The Bridge. Y'all have a good one. Y'all have a good one.